My 15-year-old daughter with ASD is being sexually harassed at school and I'm extremely worried about her. My daughter is 15 years old and is currently a sophomore in high school. I'm M41 and I work in the same high school as a pay teacher. My daughter has ASD, but she is a very sweet and very kind person once you get to know her. She's shy and only has a few friends. But they all really like her and she's never had any major issues at school related to bullying or harassment, at least that I know of, but all of that changed a week ago, as I mentioned before. My daughter is shy and quite socially awkward. She's never minded this, but I think all the social pressures of HS are getting to her. Or maybe she's just trying to branch out. Regardless, she told me she wanted to go to the cheerleading tryouts to hopefully become a cheerleader. My wife F39 was very supportive of this and loved the idea. I was a bit skeptical and nervous, but I ultimately said yes. Me and my wife were both very happy she was trying something new. My daughter went to the tryouts and was told she qualified and was admitted to the JV cheerleading team. She was so happy and we ended up going out to dinner that night to celebrate. Around a week ago I picked my daughter up from school. I always pick her up since we're both going home from the same place. She was crying. Her face was red and her cheer uniform was stuffed messily into her backpack. I asked her what was wrong, but she told me she didn't want to talk about it and she just wanted to go home. I knew something was seriously wrong, but I respected what she said. When we got home, my daughter rushed to her room without saying anything. She didn't come out for a few hours, and my wife was very concerned. Eventually, my wife told me she would go try and talk to our daughter. I agreed, and I stayed in the living room while my wife talked to my daughter. After around 30 minutes, my wife came out in shock. I asked her what our daughter said and she told me. A group of 4 boys started sexually harassing her. Apparently they were taking pictures of her breasts and ass and then showing them to other kids, as well as making suggestive comments like, "Your shorts are so tight," according to my daughter. This behavior had been going on for a few days, but she didn't say anything because she was so embarrassed. At dinner later that night, I asked my daughter who these boys were, and she said she didn't know their names, but she knew what they looked like. She showed me all their social media accounts on her phone, and I immediately recognized the boys. Those were boys in my class. I saw them every day. I emailed the principal and told him what was going on, as well as the names of all 4 of the boys, who were freshmen. The principal didn't respond back, but I hoped he had read the message. The next day, he called me down to his office before the 4 boys walked in. Long story short, they didn't give a shit. The principal threatened expulsion and legal action, and the boys looked down and gave half-assed apologies. I told them she was my daughter, and the way they were treating her was disgusting. A kid smirked before putting his hand over his mouth to cover it. I wanted to punch each and every one of them, as hard as I could, but all I could do was continue to tell them how messed up this was. The principal told them to delete the photos and leave my daughter alone. They were let off with a warning and absolutely 0 punishment. I told the principal this was unacceptable, but he just told me there was no rule in the handbook against what these boys did. But the photos were not deleted. And while those boys did leave my daughter alone, more boys continue to harass her and comment on her body. My daughter tells me these photos are being shared on social media, and she says she feels unsafe at school. My daughter quit the cheerleading team because of this, and she hasn't been her usual self since this all started. I'm extremely worried about her, and I'm considering contacting a lawyer.